Hey, it's Rafflecopter, and I want to start this video off with a few things before we actually talk about the Enchant. So one, we officially hit 300 subscribers, so that's super duper exciting. We also did a live stream last week that I think went pretty well. Like, for example, the only thing I need to understand on this guy is that I'm going to hit him. That's it. I don't need to know what I'm doing. Oh man, I'm just walking here. I'm so sorry. I learned during the live stream that there's actually a few things you guys have a lot of questions about when it comes to Ascension, and it can be a little overwhelming for some people, which I completely get. There's definitely a lot to factor in when you're trying to make a build. So I want to kind of put together a guide of all the things you kind of need to know to get started. And the only way I can kind of gauge how much that is actually wanted or needed is by saying something like this: if this video gets 50 likes, I'll make it. Easy as that. Now, again, I got a few comments in the live stream, but since this is going to be a bigger kind of video than I've done in the past, it is going to delay the upload schedule quite a bit. So before I do that, I want to make sure this is something that we actually want to see. So again, 50 likes, I'll work on the guide. Now, in the meantime, I do want to point out to anyone that's struggling with getting into Ascension, there's a ton of resources, especially the Hero's Architect, which I talked about in the past. There's a few builds created by Hoopa under the name Retail Flavors. These are going to be, from my understanding, these are going to be builds that try to bring to life a regular retail class like Fire Mage or Arms Warrior and put it into Ascension using the legendary enchants, using the spells you have access to when you have access to everything. So I just wanted to point those out. Anyway, let's get right into the build. Today we're going to be talking about the Blood Venom Enchant. This is going to be allowing our Bloodthirst to apply Blood Venom, dealing nature damage over time and increasing the damage taken by your rogue poisons by 30% per stack. This effect stacks up to 3 times. Dealing damage with Rend, Garrote, or Rupture applies a stack of internal bleeding to the target, increasing the damage done by our hemorrhage by 5%. This does stack up to 20 times. As a quick note, this will not work if you're in cat or bear form, so important kind of distinction there. Now, this is actually a build that I have tried 2 different times very recently. My first one was pulling around 800 DPS, which is very, very low. And then my second attempt, which is using a edited build from the Hero's Architect, is doing closer to 1100. So a little better, but still not ideal. Now, my item level is 43, so it's very, very low. So it's possible once you get to that 65 item level point, you're doing that 4K DPS, that 3K DPS you kind of strive for. But right now, it's not doing great. I'm not sure if that's something to do with the way I'm building it. Maybe my rotation is awful. But again, I've made 2 attempts. I'm going to be talking about mainly my higher attempt here on the DPS meter. I want to go over a few things I think are mandatory for this build. So poisons, of course, Rupture, Garrote, Hemorrhage, Bloodthirst, and Rend. Those are going to be your money makers. Those are going to be what you need for the build to really succeed, at least in my opinion. Again, this is an opinion of someone doing 1100 DPS, so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you can cut out a bleed. You don't need Garrote and just stick with the Rupture and the Rend. But I think you really need all 3 so you can quickly stack that Hemorrhage bonus. Some other talents I would definitely take a look at if you're going this build. Sinister Calling, for example. This is going to be increasing our total agility by 3% and increasing the damage done by Hemorrhage. Now, the kicker with this is that Hemorrhage is going to be applying additional combo point to the target if the target is bleeding. Now, of course, with all these bleeds, anything that generates additional combo points is going to be great because we need to keep that Rupture up. It's also going to be good if we want to try to sneak in other combo point spenders. So like in Venom, for example, is probably going to do really well with this build. That's what I'm running currently. And you're able to get enough combo points using Sinister Calling. Now, Serrated Blades is also a very important talent here. Without Sinister Blades, we're only going to be able to use Garrote inside of stealth. When Serrated Blades proc, it does allow us to use it outside of stealth. So really, when you're talking about a sustained boss fight, you're not going to be able to consistently get the garrote unless you're going to spec into something like Shadow Dance, which is also an option. You could definitely run Shadow Dance with this build, and you might see a bit more damage than I'm currently seeing. So again, just some things to keep in mind there. Otherwise, just some good talents for the rogues. You have Deadliness, just increasing the bleed damage of Garrote and Rupture and increasing our total attack power by 6% if you fully max that out. So your general rotation is going to be looking something like this. You want to use Hemorrhage as much as you can. There's a lot of things we have that will be scaling with that, and we want to be generating those combo points. You want to use Rend as soon as you can when you have the rage to do so, and you're going to be maintaining Rend on the target throughout the fight. Bloodthirst you also want to use as soon as you can, and you want to be maintaining the poison it's going to be applying. Remember, this poison stacks up to 3 times. So if it is not at 3 stacks, you want to be using Bloodthirst as often as you can. Another thing we want to use when procced is Garrote. Again, you're not going to be allowed to use it unless you get that Serrated Blades proc, so make sure you're watching for that. And then when you're at 5 combo points, you're going to be using Rupture. Now, if Rupture is already up, it doesn't need to be renewed, but you have 5 combo points, you could use something like Slice and Dice or Venom. And you could also use, again, stuff like Hunger for Blood for those DPS cooldowns if you're interested. Now, I want to say this build has been very fun to play. I'm a big fan of bleeds, so anything with a lot of bleeds I'm normally a fan of, just to show my bias there. Again, my only concern with this right now is I'm just not seeing the damage. Now, a lot of people are probably going to say in the comments, well, Billy, you don't have, your fucking item level is shit. You don't know what you're doing. Uninstall the game, which is fair. My item level is shit. But I mean, again, just as a quick kind of first over, I just hit level 60. I was hoping for a little more damage, even though I don't have the best item level. But again, maybe it'll come later. Who knows? I don't, but who knows? And I do apologize for the 2-minute intro. I didn't mean it to be that long. It just happened to be. So, but that's really all I have to say on the build. Really, again, I think it's a ton of fun. I leveled this character using this build in BGs, and again, even though it wasn't the highest damage, I'm finding out it was still fun to play, fun to see all the bleed stack up on someone. You know, you're playing PvP, you're fighting someone, and then your entire fucking debuff bar fills up. So it's satisfying to see when you're not the one that is being attacked. So thank you guys so much for watching. Again, be sure if you want to see that guide, definitely let me know either in a comment or again hitting that like goal. And I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Bye bye.